So I got this news story randomly recommended to me, and I feel like y'all should hear about this. This is a doozy. Gang who smuggled thousands of queen ants sentenced in Kenya. Now the title is actually underselling it because it's not just one gang of four. It is actually two separate incidents from two separate duos that got caught at different times. They just got sentenced at the same time. A Kenyan court has sentenced 4 men to 1 year in prison or pay a fine of $7,700, 5,800 British pounds, for trying to smuggle thousands of live queen ants out of the country. So I looked up in Google, what can I buy with $7,000? And surprisingly, some dude on the R Money subreddit asked that exact same question. So I'm gonna run you through a few of the suggestions that some Redditors gave him. A used car, a lawnmower, more than 200 ounces of silver, a Godzilla Pro Stern pinball machine, a gaming PC, which is kind of a no-brainer suggestion, and of course, strippers and cocaine. Heck, there's even one dude in the thread straight up trying to sell the dude a brick of coke, like, in the comments section. You know, funnily enough, there was a crowd-funded video game called Ant Simulator that was supposed to come out, and it got cancelled because, quote, all of the money was spent on strippers and alcohol. I don't know, I just feel like that's relevant information to bring up right now. Anyways, my point is, 7K is a solid stack of cash to be losing. Alright, so I'm going to try and run you through the operation that Ocean's 11 cooked up here. So in West Africa, there is a species of giant red harvester ant called Mesorcephalotus. And according to an online ant retailer, and I'm not even joking you, the website is called Ants Are Us. This particular species of ants is really popular with collectors because of their unique behaviors and complex colony building skills, and they are sold for 99 pounds a colony, or just under 134 US dollars. So our first two culprits are Da Hung Nguyen and Dennis Nganga. Now Dennis, being from Kenya, was basically the intelligence of the operation. He knew how to care for the animals, he knew how to get them, and Nguyen was the one that kept the ants in his house and actually transported them out of the country. These two got busted and were found with more than 300 ants in their apartments. Can you imagine being one of these dudes' neighbors and then you go outside to get a sandwich from your local deli or whatever, and then you just start seeing law enforcement hauling boxes of insects out of the apartment? I feel like if I was in that position and I saw that, I would have to immediately take a shower to feel clean again and spray my entire house with Raid. Listen, ants are cool, but I don't want to be that close to that many of them. Anyways, the long arm of the law finally caught up to these guys, and these 400 ants did not exactly make it out of the country. But when this happened, shortly after, two Belgian dudes decided to go hold my beer, and they decided to try and smuggle 5,000 out of the country. So our Waffle Land nationals, Lornoy David and Sepe Lodewicz, both 19-year-olds, kept their ants in little test tubes and syringes with cotton stuffed inside of them. Apparently these queens can survive like that for weeks, so shout out to my girls for being troopers. Dude, what was it like trying to get each one of these ants individually packaged in these glass tubes? This must have taken a stupid amount of time. I know if you stick some insects in a freezer, you can get them to enter some sort of torpor state, and then if you warm them back up, they wake up again. I can only imagine that that's what these two did. I cannot imagine trying to do this with live animals just running around and flailing their little limbs. So yeah, these two get busted, and then of course they join the other two in trial. So the judge comes in and is like, smuggling animals out of the country to sell to collectors on a black market is slightly illegal. But then David comes in, the absolute legend. His defense is like, alright, listen, Your Honor, we are just humble ant enthusiasts. We are not trying to smuggle. We're just trying to bring these ants to a new country because we just like ants, you know? And to his credit, David is not lying about that first statement. He really is an ant enthusiast. In fact, the court figured out he was actually the member of a Facebook group for ant lovers called Ant Gang. Dude, that's something I'd make up as a joke, but it's real. What's next? We're gonna get YSL, Young Slug Lovers? Listen, I know I make fun of TikTok a lot on this channel, but I feel like I also need to pay attention to these dang Facebook groups. Things get crazy over there. I remember that there was that one challenge. It blew up on TikTok where you would stick a gun in your pants pointed at your junk and then lightly squeeze the trigger. Hopefully you don't just horrifically injure yourself for clout. But yeah, that blew up on TikTok, but it started on Facebook. But yeah, they tried to claim we're hobbyists, we didn't know trafficking ants was illegal, we're just doing this because we love ants, and the judge was like, you're smuggling 5,000 queens, I don't believe a word that you say, you're gonna have to pay the fine or go to jail. And that's about where our story ends so far. Do you think these kids are going to try and smuggle ants again once they get out of jail and or pay the fine? I feel like there is a non-zero chance of that happening. So the vid right now is only about 5 minutes long. I'm gonna throw in a little bonus story for y'all. It's not about insects, but it is about trying to smuggle things through the air, kind of. Two Colorado men are accused of trying to use an air cannon to launch more than $200,000 worth of drugs into a Louisiana prison. They're straight up treating drugs like free t-shirts at a baseball game. Can you imagine one of the prisoners like pumping iron outside doing the bench press and then just randomly a bag of drugs just hits him square in the face? Or a group of people are playing a basketball game and then a bag of drugs lands square on the court, somebody slips on it and then it's just face first into the ground. Anyways, two dudes had $112,000 worth of tobacco and $89,500 worth of meth that they were trying to hurl over a security fence onto the grounds of the federal prison. I'm sorry, how much meth is that? $89,500. You allocated that much money for meth, but the actual gadget you were going to use to smuggle the stuff into the prison was like a Wile E. Coyote Acme air cannon and $112,000 worth of tobacco. Your strategy is completely off, guys. You need to tone down the money that you spend on the drugs and use that money to buy a drone. That way you can fly it over the prison from like a very good distance so that they won't realize it's you and drop the drugs in like you're dropping a care package in. You need to make it a stealth mission, guys. You can't, the air cannon is going to be way too loud. It's going to set everybody off. At least with the drone strategy, even if they see the drone, you can just bolt that thing out of there and then they can't catch up to it. By the way, I just need to make it clear, don't smuggle drugs at all. But if you do, I feel like you could have a better strategy than what these guys tried to pull. But again, don't smuggle drugs, please. I do not condone that activity. I want to know, do you think these guys just loaded up the meth and tobacco in the air cannon and hoped for the best? Or were they like planning stuff out on a whiteboard like it was a trigonometry homework assignment or something? I honestly can't decide which scenario is funnier. Alright, that's all I've got for today. Again, I do not condone smuggling.